Alright, come help me with the donuts.
Alright.
Can you believe Randy Pitchford?
Real fans will find the money to support it.
Real fans will remortgage their homes for Borderlands.
Yeah, I'm rich. I don't care about anybody.
I have a stupid nose. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
Watch the wall. Hold on 1 second. Alright, ready? Alright, lift up.
Come around here. Right. And perfect. Alright. Did you close the door?
The door's always closed. I'll go get the ice caps. Dude, it's always closed.
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here. We are not live. We will never do this live. But we are here. And it is time for the Justin and Tyler Mid-Year Movie Awards for 2025. We sit here on the 8th of June in the year of our Lord 2025. I'm pretty sure I make that joke almost every year. And we are ready to talk about the year that has been so far in film. So before we really kind of get kicked off with the way that we do the mid-years every year, which is going back over miscellaneous awards of years past. And we haven't started cutting any awards yet, but that's coming kind of around the corner. We're going to start kind of being a little more selective with what we include in the mid-years, because again, we just keep adding awards every year, and eventually this will be like longer than the end of year awards.
Yeah, I think we're at like 16.
Something
So I
like
suggested maybe once we get to 20. Maybe start cutting.
Something like that. So within the next couple of years, you're going to start seeing some scrutiny come into what we include in these awards. But a ton of miscellaneous awards that we've given in years past. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, how have you felt about the year in film so far that you've gotten to experience?
God, I should be ready for this more. I know it's coming.
I did definitely drop it on you, but
no, I have it written in my file, for the end of the year to be like, this is what I think about the year.
Yeah.
My top 5 is really solid, from what I can remember. I actually kind of forget my list, but I can remember a couple of them.
I feel pretty good about my top 5 too. The honorables that I have, I think, are ones that like will probably have to fight to hold on to anything at the end of the year. But the top 5 that I have, I feel pretty solid about.
My top 5 is really good. Some surprises in there of movies I really liked that maybe not even everyone else liked. I will say this. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the quality of the movies are going to be like, and we'll talk about anticipated movies later, like specifically. But I'm really excited for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
like there's some big hitters that I'm really, really excited for.
Yeah, and even stuff that's like come out fairly recently that we just haven't had a chance to see yet. No, the
I mean,
rest
we might as well say it, Ballerina.
Yeah, I was
like, I'm
Ballerina,
really excited for that. I couldn't include it.
Literally just came out Friday, didn't it? Or Thursday, whatever. Yeah. So spoilers, we haven't had a chance to see Ballerina yet. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there are definitely some big hitters coming in the back half of the year. Yeah. For a little bit this year, I kind of felt like I was running somewhat thin on stuff that I really liked. But I will say this, I didn't give in to what I've done in years past, especially early in the the lifespan of the movie awards, like 2010 especially, of pretending I liked movies more than I actually did to make sure that I had enough.
That's a problem, man.
My white whale for this is Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah.
I will never live down the fact that Get Him to the Greek was in my top 20 in 2010. I'm like, I don't even like this movie, but somehow I gave it an 80. Like, that makes no sense at all.
On a sort of similar note, I suppose, I have been trying especially hard this year to not rate movies higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a real problem with rating movies higher too, and I've been knocking a lot of ratings down like 5 to 10 points out of 100, which isn't a lot, but I mean, it's the difference between an 80 and an 85 is quite steep. An 85 to a 90 is the difference between me being like, I really like this, to I love this movie. So I've been trying to have like less 80 pluses.
Right. The point is, you're trying.
I'm always trying.
We're always trying. The next leap will be the leap home. So, with that said, and without further ado, let's get into the Mid-Year Movie Awards, Justin and Tyler Mid-Year Movie Awards for 2025. So to kick things off with the massive list of miscellaneous awards that we give in the Mid-Year Movie Awards this year for 2025, we are starting off with Hollywood's Dumbest Moment. We're going to light the industry on fire right from the get-go here. And my selection for Hollywood's Dumbest Moment in 2025, boy, it's one that's been brewing with me for quite some time. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is a bad filmmaker. Tyler Perry got lucky, I think, with like one character, the Medea character, and has had a whole career, I think, based off the fact that he got lucky with one character. Hollywood's Dumbest Moment in 2025 is willingly continuing to give Tyler Perry money. Tyler Perry has 4 movies in 2025.
Oh, he's a 4?
He's got 4
I thought it was
movies
2
this year. No, he's got 4 movies this year and has done 9 since 2022. This industry continues to willingly give Tyler Perry money to make bad movies, and whether it's Netflix, whether it's Amazon, he'll whoever cuts the check, he'll take it. It doesn't, and I don't necessarily blame him for that, but I blame the studios for cutting the checks.
Yeah.
Like, look, last year, one of his movies, Mea Culpa, was I think my number 2, I think, worst movie of the year. That movie is hot garbage, and he's producing more that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the like, okay, what's this movie about? It's the same thing. All of his movies have terrible premises. You know up front exactly what you're getting into with a Tyler Perry movie, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be horrible. The fact that they continue, like, there's some guys that I grind axes against. Tyler Perry's a relatively new one, but the fact that this industry continues to give this guy money to make mediocre at best films, I don't get it, and it's the dumbest moment in the entire. Like, every time that moment comes and goes, yeah, let's cut the check for Tyler Perry, that's the dumbest moment in Hollywood every year. But in 2025, it's hit nuclear levels if he's making 4 movies.
Yeah, and then like he often gets his name thrown onto the title, like Tyler Perry's Duplicity. And it's like, dude, unless you're like Hideo Kojima, I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's bad enough when like Hideo, he does it in his games where it's like his name 80 times. So we're like, yeah, but you know what? Dude's a legend.
And you know what? That happens in video games a lot. It's Kojima, it's Suda51, there's like, you know, all
awesome.
But yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not like it's like Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. Like,
no.
Like he could get away with that.
Right.
Right.
Like, if Martin Scorsese had said, you know what, it's going to be Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, sure, whatever. I mean, you're Martin Scorsese. It's like Tyler Perry's, like, Ryan Coogler, who deserves deserves so much money and could probably at this point be like Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
Yeah,
if you really
absolutely.
wanted to.
Oh, I think so.
Like, maybe I guess he's made some pretty big movies. I was gonna say maybe his movies don't make as much money, but then I realized he made, like, Black Panther and stuff.
Right.
But maybe, like, his movies wouldn't make... But Sinners made a lot of money. I don't even know.
No.
But he's just so much more talented, and I don't want anybody to think, like, oh, he's just comparing black creators. But I know that that's the big portion of the audience, right?
Right.
And there's just such better black creators. I don't know why Tyler Perry's the one that Hollywood continuously is like...
Because a lot of producers were like, Medea's funny.
Yeah, it's
That's it. That's like he built a whole career off of Medea.
Yeah. This is a good pick.
Beautiful. I'm glad you're on board with this because, man, like right away when I looked at this award, I'm like, and then I saw like, oh look, there's a Tyler Perry. There's another one. There's another one. Oh my God, they're multiplying like the spores in The Last of Us. Just like what is going on? I'm like, oh my God, he's got 4 movies this year. Well, that takes care of that award.
Mine is similar to yours in that it's not really exclusively to 2025. It's just something that has been brought up by a prominent figure within Hollywood.
Okay.
I'll call this like Hollywood sucks up to Instagram and other social media apps.
Okay.
So Maya Hawke, who's kind of a G, honestly. I know she's like a Nepo baby, but she's cool. I like her. She has like 2 quotes, and I'm just quoting from wherever I got this from. So whatever.
I'm quoting
I don't remember.
source.
I don't remember where it came from because I thought Screen Rant.
Okay.
Quote 1. They're talking about the emphasis Hollywood puts on things like Instagram followers. Alright, so here's a quote. It's like, I don't care about Instagram. Instagram sucks, right? But just so you know, if you have over this many followers, you can get the movie funded. Well, I want to make the movie so you know, like, it's a really confusing line to walk. I've talked to so many smart directors. I'm talking to them about how I'm going to delete my Instagram, and they're like, just so you know, when I'm casting a movie with some producers, they hand me a sheet with the amount of collective followers I have to get off the cast that I cast. And then she was told if she deleted Instagram, the rest of the cast would have to make up for the followers. Here's the second quote. So if you delete your Instagram and I lose those followers, understand that these are the kinds of people I need to cast around you. Now, one person's like opinion, insight into the industry, blah, 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 you know, maybe she's wrong.
Right.
But we do know that Hollywood had a star system. It's probably less now, but decades ago, there was definitely a star system. I understand that you want to cast people that are popular. But doesn't this kind of just feel like it's getting in the way of art? If you listen to the things people complain about, and not all of it I agree, because there's like the wokeness, you know, there's some of it, but like I don't agree, and there's like lack of creativity, remakes, although that's a whole other thing because people actually like remakes and stuff, but anyway, people complain about it. They complain about all this other nonsense, not being able to find good movies. And this is just getting in the way of that because it's like, oh, you don't have 1 million Instagram followers? We're not going to make your movie. Well, the day of the movie star is basically dead anyway, right? So while followers can help, yes, I'm not saying it doesn't. It's like maybe you should just focus on the stuff that matters more, like managing your budget.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That's the
manage
thing.
your budget. This is maybe the biggest problem in Hollywood is the budgets are too high. So a movie, like a big blockbuster movie, can make $400 million and still flop.
Right.
Because your budgets are too high. And I understand that people also want the best visuals and the best whatever. And it's the same in games. People want the AAA whatever. So I understand that people are also to blame here. But it's not up to us to manage your budgets. And like, I can't think of a movie off the top of my head, but you know these exist where it's like, oh, this movie, this drama or something cost $80 million. And it's like, why did it cost $80 million?
Right.
It isn't always because it's managed well. And like that's something, but either way, that's not for me to figure out. That's for Hollywood to figure out. Put the best people in place. Have some creativity. Like these are the things you should be worrying about. Not like threatening like actors and actresses being like, yeah, but you know, like if you delete your Instagram, then we have to make up the followers.
Yeah,
like,
that's the most baffling part of the whole thing. Well, you know, if you delete your Instagram, that means every other person in the cast has to gain 10,000 Instagram followers so that we get the same amount of money. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, they're putting way too much emphasis on one way to kind of keep track of like popularity.
Right. I have a bad example for this, but it's part of why I also dislike Instagram. A lot of we're just gonna rail against Instagram. There's a bunch of accounts popping up now that are like, I'm posting the same video every day until I get to 1 million followers. And the first one that I ever saw, and it's not their video, it's they're posting someone else's video once a day, every day, until they get to whatever, 100,000 followers or whatever. And the one that I always keep seeing, because I guess I watched the video once or twice, so now it just pops up everywhere, because the algorithm, is somebody with a potato filter over them, and it's like one of those like two-pane videos where it's like they're on Omegle or something, but they got a potato filter on, and it's just like really, really sweet and endearing, like blonde girl that they get on Omegle, and she's just like, oh, it's a potato, and the guy's just like, I'm a potato, don't eat me, like stuff like that. Like, it's a funny video, but A, it doesn't belong to that person, and B, they're just posting it once a day, every day, and it's not their content, but they're at like, they're getting close to 100,000 Instagram. So using the whole, saying all that to say this, using Instagram followers, the number, as your metric for popularity is dumb, because I could do the exact same thing. All of a sudden I got 100,000 Instagram followers. You're telling me now you can cast me in a movie? Yeah. That makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
Like, there's obviously a mixture of things you got to take into consideration. Like, just making a great movie does not instantly mean success. I'm not, like, I'm not saying it does or anything, but like I said, it's just too much emphasis. Like, I thought of the example I wanted to use of, like, Hollywood kind of learning and hopefully being able to right the ship, though, I don't know. The MCU, right? I still love the MCU, but even I will admit that this saga is not as good as the Infinity Saga. And there's many reasons, we don't got to get into that. One of the reasons, though, too much content. We're scaling back. This is smart. Yeah. Right? And maybe that'll help. Right? That's Hollywood learning and being like, okay, we got to do something. This whole Instagram follower thing is just nonsense.
Yeah. So it's going to take them a few years, but the market will then begin dictating. Which it already is. Yeah. But it will take them much longer than everybody else to figure out, like, like, maybe we need to not do this anymore. It's like, yeah, you should have stopped doing this 3 years ago when we were telling you should probably stop doing this.
Like, another example, this is actually the other choice I had for this. It was a smaller choice, but it kind of ties in with the way this conversation's gone. Like, another way to make things good is your trailers, right? So one of my other picks was, they should have led with I don't know if you know what I mean, but the Absolute Cinema Thunderbolts trailer. They should have led with that. Because you know what? That trailer was amazing. Hey, make good trailers. Too, right? Like, there's so many other things, but no, like, my Hawk, of the Hawk family, a famous family, you don't have enough Instagram followers. Right. So, like, sorry. So stupid.
Now I'm mad.
This has been said by social psychologists. This is not a me original thing. I don't know that social media is a net benefit to society. Like, I'm not saying for sure that it isn't, but because there's been many that have been like, it's not the internet that's a problem, it's social media. And man, the more I learn about it, the more I really start to believe, like, maybe social media doesn't mean it doesn't have positives, because it does. Yeah. You can get your name out there, whatever. We, as humans, were not meant to talk to the entire world. Right. And now Hollywood just follows Instagram. I'm going with the Fantastic Four trailer. Okay. One of them. Because there's multiple now. There's a scene, and this is why I'm glad that I read comments sometimes, because somebody just kind of made an observation about it that I thought, oh, that's good, right? And this was kind of a last minute, because I thought about this. Fantastic Four walking off, and I don't know if it's like a journalist or just, it's someone off to the side. They look at Reed Richards, who, I'm not a big comic book guy, but just know, like, what I do know about him is that, like, he's arguably the smartest guy in the Marvel universe, or he's one of. Yeah. Right? His thing is he's a genius, right? So So this person goes, "Are we safe?" And Reed Richards goes, "I don't know." Reed Richards doesn't know something. And that's what the point made. It's like, somebody goes like, the most horrifying thing in this trailer is that Reed Richards doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I'm like, that is a cinematic beatdown, because there's going to be like many horror movies the rest of the year, many of which are scary. I don't think anything is more scary than Reed Richards not knowing something in the trailer.
I like that.
Yeah, so like that to me is like the best cinematic beatdown, because yes, I know the Fantastic Four, he's going to figure it out. Things are going to happen, whatever. I know, it's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But right now, before the movie's out, and we only have the trailers, when he looks back and goes, "I don't know," I'm like, oh.
That hurts.
Yeah, so that's my pick. The Fantastic Four, I don't know part.
I feel like this is one of our more kind of dynamic awards. I feel like you can do so much more with this. I like that pick a lot.
Good. I wasn't sure if you would or not.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you do.
My selection for this award is one that I think will cause you a little bit of distress, but I think ultimately you'll I don't know. You might agree with it, you might not. You might agree with it in principle. My selection for Best Cinematic Beatdown in 2025 so far is David Howard Thornton against his own credibility.
I agree. I already know where this is going.
Of course.
I'll let you say it, but I already know.
So David Howard Thornton is the man, the myth, the legend, Art the Clown. Has become a modern horror icon. David Howard Thornton is also horror Mickey Mouse. He had fun with it.
Yeah.
In Screamboat, he absolutely did. You can tell just the way that he was allowed to basically masturbate on film. Theoretically speaking, not literally. But they just kind of let him do his thing and have fun. So good for him, and the fact that he got a paycheck for it.
Yeah.
But the fact that Art the Clown himself lowered himself to that level of being in one of these, it's in the public domain, so I can make a horror movie about it. It doesn't mean that I don't still love Art the Clown. But it does now mean that every time I look at Art the Clown, I'm going to be like, yeah, but the guy that's playing him, he did that thing once, and I'm gonna be mad about it. I'm gonna be mad about it forevermore. So that's my big cinematic beatdown. Didn't technically happen on screen, but kind of did at the same time. It's David Howard Thornton against his own credibility.
Yeah, I think I might have said on video that I don't think, like maybe a couple years ago, I don't remember, that I don't think I'll follow this guy's career.
Right.
But obviously, as Art the Clown, like, it won't diminish anything to do with Art the Clown. I won't even look at him and be like, oh, this guy also did this. Because Art the Clown is always going to be a legend. Even if he's crappy in the fourth one, which he won't be,
right.
I'll still be like, yeah, but in those three, like, it doesn't matter. He's a legend, one of my favorite horror characters of all time.
Yeah.
But like, I've seen him talk about Screamboat, and maybe he's just doing, like, the PR thing, like, oh, yeah, go see the movie, and maybe it really is just about money, and maybe he doesn't actually care, but you can only go by the way he talks.
Yeah.
And unless he said something since, he was all excited, like, yeah, we get to do this with the big, I'm just like, oh. I'm like, dude, like, you did Art the Clown, like, I don't, but this is the problem, though, that's why these movies keep existing. It's because there are people who legitimately find this stuff good.
Right.
Like, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to see, Mickey Mouse, whatever, well, Steamboat Willie, whatever. I want to see him kill everybody. I want to see Popeye. I want to see Bambi. I want to see, like, they want to see it.
Right.
Right? And I'm like a triggered Karen when it comes to this stuff, because it's the war I have chosen to fight, and I say it every year. Every time we see each other, this comes up. And so I love your pick, and it doesn't hurt me at all.
Okay.
Because
that's
I hate that he did this movie.
Right.
Really do.
Yeah, so let's keep it going. Let's dovetail right into worst industry argument, because it just ties right back in. The worst industry argument in movies right now is this thing exists, therefore I can make a movie about it.
Yeah.
So here's and that kind of sucks, because that is also the space where you get some of the great creativity. Like, race cars exist, therefore I can make the movie Cars.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure.
That's where the creativity to make great movies exists. But it's also where the thing exists that says we can make 3 Popeye horror movies in the same year. Because Popeye exists, I can use him now, and no, I'm not going to make 1, I'm not going to make 2, I'm going to make 3 bad Popeye horror movies in the same year because the character now exists in public domain. Thank you. The argument that the thing exists, therefore I can make it. And look, I especially criticize Reese Frake Waterfield as like patient zero of this bullshit because it's like that's who seemed to start it. But now it's hit pandemic levels because now like everybody is doing it. The fact that there's a bunch of absolutely shitty filmmakers who are sitting there right now going, when does this character go into public domain so I can make not even a B slasher movie, I can just make a slasher movie for a hot dog and a handshake with this character that everybody loved from their childhoods, and 25 people will watch it, but that means my movie will make its money back. They didn't spend anything on it. Like, the fact that these people exist and that somehow it does enough to make its money back because people have not yet become disgusted and sickened by watching the 2 dogs banging on the side of the road, because that's the principle here. Like, you're driving along, you see 2 dogs on the side of the road, you'll stop for a second, just be like, what's going on over there? And that's what this is. That's what these movies are. And people haven't now grown past it yet.
Right.
So we're in this very limited space where that's going to work, and eventually it won't anymore. But we're not at that point yet where it's going to stop working, which means we just get subjected to this horrible shit. And that's my. I love that those 2 awards just fed like kind of directly into each other that way.
You know, this thing exists so we can make a movie, but it also gets filtered through actual talent.
Yes.
You know, like you listed 2 Pixar movies, actual talent.
Right.
And here's the thing: you can take these public domain characters and put them in something that's true to the source and kind of the way it feels or like kind of keeps the goodness of it or whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to think of a more elegant word, but I'm blanking.
Right.
Like there's a Mickey Mouse like shooter detective or detective shooter game coming that's like kind of looks cool.
Right.
Right? Like the public domain, that looks cool. There's things to do. Mm-hmm. But these guys don't do it. Like it's all slasher flicks.
Right.
For my pick, I ask you first, do you know who Kevin Sorbo is? You know him,
yes.
but I don't know if you know the name. Like his real...
I think I do.
Hercules from the 90s show. Mm-hmm. Been in 8 gazillion mostly Christian movies since. He doesn't make stuff. Anyway, this guy on Twitter a while back.
He's pretty active on Twitter.
The left can't make movies.
Yep.
Buddy. I like Hercules as much as the next guy, alright? It's probably crappy.
Right.
But I grew up with it. I looked forward to it. That and Xena, Warrior Princess, on the weekends. Hell yeah. Alright? You gotta stop talking. Because you don't make good movies, first of all. Like, yeah, you're richer than me. You're more well-known than me. Alright? That doesn't matter. Because if that's what I was known for, like being you, I would just rather die in obscurity.
Right.
I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you could have stopped at Hercules. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's Hercules. Yeah, he's cool.
Yep.
But
just do the convention circuit.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
You'd be beloved.
Or try to make good movies.
There's that.
But where do you even start? The left can't make movies. I understand that there are conservatives in Hollywood, and there's probably quite a few and that don't come out, right? Because it is undeniably a left, like, you know, Hollywood, it's left.
Yeah. Because
typically the creativity comes from people on the left, right? Hasn't always necessarily been that way. Some people make the argument that it hasn't, but even back in the day, like, some of these people that would be seen as right-wing now were left for its time. But left, generally speaking, is more creative. I've even seen like, social commentators be like, we don't get art here. I'm not saying art isn't good stuff.
Right. I
was a defendant of early Daily Wire, their early excursion until they lost the plot. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they released Run, Hide, Fight. I actually think that's underrated. There's a couple movies that are okay. I was supportive of a right-wing perspective when they were like, we just want to make good movies, but then they became terrible.
Right.
Like, people who have been following us for a long time know that I have ranted against wokeness.
Yep.
And I always will when I actually feel something is legitimately woke. And that's not that much stuff, honestly. But this anti-woke crowd, like this, because it ties into go woke, go broke. Yeah, because Barbie went broke.
Yeah.
Like, I once got into a debate with some people that I like on a Discord about, like, and the guy's my buddy, but he was like, name some stuff that was woke that didn't go broke. I'm like, do I have to stay in movies or can I use just art? He's like, use whatever. Easily listed off like 10 things, right? Because we were arguing about Concord. He's like, well, it went broke because it was woke. I'm like, there was like 8 other reasons too. I'm not saying that that's not part of it. There is an argument to, like, the left wokeness hurts movies to some degree. Mm-hmm. All right, sometimes, but maybe also you guys care too much. Yeah. Like, yes, you guys won't go see a movie because it's woke. And then you go, oh, see it failed because it's woke. It's like, yeah, because of you guys. The rest of us don't care. Like, you see a black person or a gay person or whatever, and you're like, ugh. I'm like, I can't be in bed with you. I was to some degree because, like, I don't like a movie that's just straight up like not many movies explicitly state this, but there are movies that kind of say it or imply it. Some probably actually say it. It's like, white people are evil. I'm like, this is terrible. This is woke. Yeah. I might still like the movie, but I don't like the message. Right? But Kevin Sorbo just lives in this mindset that these anti-woke people do, where the left can't make movies. I'm like, dude. I'm like, if it wasn't for the left, we wouldn't have many good movies. We wouldn't have much good music. Like, I actually posed a question, or I made a statement on, I think, Facebook a while back. I tagged our buddy Zach in it because he's a big music guy. Yeah. I go, just remember that this is what the right wing considers good music, and I posted like a more recent Kid Rock video. I can't remember which one it was. Probably from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, and compare it to, like, now the left. It's not a completely fair comparison because I post some from like the 90s, but like the left in its prime, Rage Against the Machine. Right. I'm not even a massive Rage Against the Machine fan, but it's completely different.
Yeah, compare it musically.
Like you guys' height is like Kid Rock and that, like, Try That in a Small Town. Oh yeah. Like, I like some Kid Rock, like some old Kid Rock. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't. I still listen to some old Kid Rock. Yep. And there's a lot of really great ones. I'm sure that many of the movies that we love that we're going to talk about are probably originate from, like, leftist thought. Even if not everybody involved was left. Anyway, this rant was a little longer than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, my pick is Kevin Sorbo being like, the left can't make movies.
Oh, man. The left can't make movies and Kevin Sorbo can't make rent.
All right, the next one is Nostalgia Made This Bad Movie Good, and I'm gonna go with Fear Street Prom Queen.
Ooh, okay.
Back a few years ago, I don't remember how many, Lee Yaniak, I think the director's name was, put out a trilogy of Fear Street movies in like a month. Yeah. And they all slapped. Honestly, like, there was one I liked more. I think it was like the 90s one. I like that one the most, but man, the quality of those were awesome, and they only aged, like, they aged really well for me, too. Now, with this one, it's a new director, I think Matt Palmer or something. Oh, that might be screwing that up, but it's a different director. See, the thing is, that original trilogy had real vision. Yeah. It was interesting, had a compelling mystery. It was, like, those movies are great. I don't really even need to get into quality so much. It's bad. Like it's not a good movie. I wouldn't normally recommend it but because it's like a new Fear Street.
Right.
I wanted so badly to like it that I still rated it a 6 out of 10 and got some enjoyment out of it. And I wouldn't rewatch it anyway. But I'm never going to rewatch it because I know that if I do, that nostalgia will be gone.
It'll just go right away.
Yeah, so I didn't have a great pick for this one. I have some problems with this one occasionally, but I think I like my. This might be the only time we talk about Fear Street Prom Queen all night, unless like you hate it or something.
Right.
When you watch it, but yeah, Fear Street Prom Queen.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of those movies that like had that nostalgia for the original 3 not been there.
Yeah.
This might have been like a 3.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So no, that.
And many people rated it a 3. Like it didn't get good reception. I was just like, but I want to love you. Like I wish they would have brought back the same director.
Right.
Like you gotta understand that moment was so cool for horror. I don't know how many people actually watched them, but you got a really good movie, and then like a week later another one, and then you got another one. So it was kind of like a TV show. For like a month, it was really cool, and I had a really good experience because I worked with somebody who was watching him, and we were like, "Oh, did you see it?" It's like, "Yeah."
Oh, nice.
And this is not that. Like, I think they have other ones planned, but the release isn't even the same. Like, it's like who knows when the next one is.
Right.
Not that I'm excited anymore.
It doesn't exactly dovetail into my selection, but my choice for nostalgia made this bad movie good in 2025. I'm a little uncomfortable with it because I don't actually think this was a bad movie, and that was The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes movie.
Really?
Yeah. See, I didn't.
Okay.
And again, so I don't think this is a bad movie.
All right.
I think as a movie itself, I think it's fine, but it's definitely helped by having that nostalgia for the Looney Tunes and the Looney Tunes at their peak, and like the fact that you can still have a really good Looney Tunes property. I mean, my God, the Looney Tunes have been around for decades and decades, and the fact that you can still have like a pretty good Looney Tunes property in 2025, 2024, 2025, whatever, again, isn't fantastic, but the fact that it's like credible and it's still enjoyable and it's still like funny and I think still resonates with an audience, and the fact that you can still do that after so long, my nostalgia for my entire lifetime with the Looney Tunes definitely aided in my enjoyment of what was, again, I think the movie was fine, but because of that nostalgia, it was like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. Whereas if I wasn't nostalgic for the Looney Tunes, like if it just wasn't my jam as a kid, I might have watched this and just been like, all right, like, 6 out of 10, it exists, it's fine. But because of that nostalgia, for me, it pushed it into like a 7, and I wound up really enjoying it. So it was the day the Earth blew up. Yeah. I keep wanting to say the day the Earth almost blew up, but the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie, is my choice for this.
I actually think this was quite a good movie, but I was thinking, yeah, the nostalgia definitely plays, because one, we're always rooting for Looney Tunes, but two, like if I was making a Looney Tunes movie, it wouldn't be these characters.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not my character. Like, obviously it's Bugs Bunny. I know that he's like the big one, but like Bunny Love. Right? Yeah. So obviously I want a Looney Tunes movie with like Bugs and whatnot, right? And the characters I really like. So like if I didn't have nostalgia for just Looney Tunes in general, I probably would have thought a little less, because it just isn't the characters. They're done well, they're great, they're legends, right? They're iconic. But everyone has their like favorite characters, right? And mine isn't them.
Right.
So nostalgia helps, I guess, make it move. But to hear that you only think the movie is fine is a little disappointing. Because I think it's great. Great. Like, low-key great. Not the best movie of the year or anything.
Right.
Spoilers. But
damn, I should have picked that for yours.
But yeah, good movie. But no, I actually do like the pick. It's interesting.
We move on now to the best debut character of 2025 so far. And for me, this was number one with a bullet. I don't think there was a close second for me in these terms, and it's Bob Reynolds from Thunderbolts. So I thought that this character was played well, I mean, the I guess technically the three different characters that it, like, it basically encompasses three. It's Bob Reynolds, it's Sentry, and then the Void. With the Void was just like, that's such a cool villain, and they did such great like kind of visuals around when he would blip. Basically,
yeah, that was so cool.
Blip people into like a realm of their own worst nightmares.
Just
Like that's
right.
dark.
It's so good.
It's so dark. It's so good. I thought he was played incredibly well, and I am really looking forward to where that character continues to go, because obviously that character is going to be caked into everything that's still coming in the MCU. Yeah, I just thought it was, again, very incredibly well played. A character with different levels to it, and again, super excited for where it's going to go. So Bob Reynolds is my pick.
I was about to say, very interested to see how the MCU handles such an OP character,
Right?
Like when he's the Void, especially. But I mean, I know how you handle him. You just fight off him being the Sentry, so then the Void does, like he says at the end, right? But yeah, no, that's a good pick. I'm always down for a superhero pick.
Yeah.
I'm calling it audible. I was gonna pick the monkey from The Monkey. He's like a menacing little shit.
Yes.
And I really liked. I don't love that movie, but I liked him a lot. I was gonna pick him, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna use. It's a weird one. Parteb in Grand Theft Hamlet. He's basically, technically he's a real person playing a character within the game. But he's like this green naked alien with a nice butt. And I originally had him in Best Cinematic Beatdown because like he just kind of helps in his own way,
right?
And they ask him to run security for like their they were practicing or whatever, rehearsing like Hamlet, and they were like, yeah, you could be security, Parteb, and boy is he ever. he like shows up in a plane and starts like mowing people down. And he was really funny. Like those are the type of people you meet online that you remember. You're like that guy's funny.
This guy's
right. Like I don't know what he's like. Maybe he was kind of being like that just for the movie because he knows like, oh, I'm gonna be doing whatever, right? You know, because people kind of act. Maybe he's a troll. Otherwise, it's really terrible. But within context of this movie, I think I'm going with Parteb.
I like that. I like that a lot. You do definitely always remember it's like for people who are like real sort of heavy online gamers, you do always remember the most unhinged people that you come across.
Yeah. Like I cracked up when he was security and he shows up at the play. I was like, that is so good. I'm like, that's funny. So we move on to best genre, and this is like the one where I don't know that I don't think I have such a great pick. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Superhero. I mean, I love superhero movies. I try not to give it to superhero, but I was really sitting there. I was looking at the way I averaged out the movies. I was trying to find an angle like you have and stuff like when you picked like the coming of age, like a subgenre within a subgenre. Like I really sat there and tried to find a different angle, but I just couldn't. Because really, like at the end of the day, there was a Batman Yakuza movie, which was okay. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Captain America, Brave New World, I thought was unfairly treated because I actually thought that was quite a fun movie. Not one of the best MCU or whatever. And then Thunderbolts was a good movie. So nothing, like I considered horror, but there was some bad movies in there.
Yeah.
Superhero maybe only had like 3, I think, that I saw. But they were all like 7 out of 10 up. So Superman coming.
Yes.
Fantastic Four coming. Right? I can't remember if there's anything else technically superhero. Maybe nothing big, but maybe there's like a more indie superhero movie. I actually had one that I didn't watch. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, I'll just go with superhero. I won't say anything else.
No,
it's a boring pick.
But at the same time, it's totally fair. And this is also, I think, kind of why, not to spoil the anime for you, but I get the feeling that when we start cutting awards, this will probably be the first one on the chopping block.
It's sad because I came up with this one, but to be fair to me, the year I did it, it was congrats horror, you won me over.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was great. It was a glorious moment. But it just hasn't had the staying power
My choice for this year for best genre of 2025 so far is the supernatural. And while I guess if I did sort of a similar method to you, where I kind of averaged all the grades out, it might fall slightly below something else, but I think based on volume of, strong movies that I liked that are within the supernatural genre, like if I would have just gone like drama, I guess maybe my average would have been like slightly up above, but I think based on volume, so far for what I've seen in 2025, and I feel I've even felt myself kind of leaning more towards supernatural as a genre. I'll watch a supernatural movie first if I'm kind of debating between the two. So on that level too, I feel like it's having a strong year. So we're gonna lean on the supernatural as my genre of the year so far.
Yeah, two things. Like, drama's always in the running because inevitably some of the best movies we see all year are dramas. That's,
right.
Like, the data, when I still had it before I lost everything, now, I mean, I have, 2 years of data now, but, the data before bared that out.
Yeah.
Like, drama was by far, for actors and stuff like that, drama was, the most recognized genre for us. And I'm more of a supernatural and paranormal kind of get grouped in together, but paranormal is more ghosts and stuff. I'm more of a supernatural guy, in the sense of monsters, werewolves, stuff like that, vampires, whatever. I like that more than I like ghost stuff. But they are intertwined. People, I only separate them because of a book I wrote.
Up next is the story or premise that deserved better in 2025. My selection for this one is a movie that I didn't exactly dislike. I just kind of, it would be a strong candidate for maybe I expected more at the end of the year. I don't know whether it'll ultimately survive there. My choice for this, for a story or premise that deserved better in 2025, I'm going to go with The Monkey. And the only reason I'm going to go with The Monkey is I think it's a really cool premise, but I thought there were moments of that movie that were a little too hokey for my liking. Played a little too which, I mean, I guess we're talking about a monkey that does the symbols. So, I mean, I kind of get it. But there were just sort of some moments that I thought were a little too hokey in what's supposed to be a horror movie. And I wanted, more consistent tension. The most tense moments in that movie are when you're just made to look at the monkey. Yeah. Look at the monkey. And you're looking at it and you're like, I think it's going to do something. And a lot of times, it shouldn't be the symbols, it's the drum. It's not, it doesn't always do anything. But it builds really good tension in those moments where the camera just slowly comes in on the monkey, and it's just look at the monkey, just look at the monkey, and you're like, what's the monkey gonna do? It's those are the most tense moments of the movie, and I kind of wanted it to have more consistent tension throughout, and I just kind of felt like it didn't. So I felt like that premise, which I really, really liked, just deserved a little bit more in the whole movie itself. But again, I didn't exactly dislike the monkey, I just kind of wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, so you said I probably wouldn't like this one, but I would actually love The Monkey. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I thought it worked well enough as a horror and a comedy. It was fine, right? I just love the character.
Yeah.
I like how he just overplays, he's obnoxious. Right. About he's just he's trolling you. I as a character, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, fair enough.
But as a, maybe not 10 out of 10 because that's rarefied air, but 9 out of 10 character. Movie, it's fine.
I think they're planning on second one.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I like The Monkey. So my pick is Love Me. It's a cheater, I think. I think it's a cheater.
Okay.
10 out of 10 romance premise, okay? A buoy falls in love with a satellite.
What? Hang on. Actually, never mind. Go ahead.
You never heard of this movie?
No.
Kristen Stewart and Stephen Yeun? No, is it Yeun?
Stephen Yeun.
They play you know, like, because they have to make, like, kind of human, like, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's essentially a buoy falling in love with a satellite. Like, the satellite comes along and he starts talking like humans. I can't remember now. It's been a while. I don't know if humans are gone or whatever, but they might be all gone. And it's just, like, it's such a funny, like, because a coworker was like, hey, have you heard of this movie, You Love Me? I was like, no. It's like, a buoy falls in love with a satellite. I'm in.
I'm there.
I'm there. And, like, they had good chemistry, whatever, but the movie should have been shorter. And the problem with it was, it's like them trying to find their humanity, and I don't actually think the movie succeeds in that. So I was disappointed because, like, when I heard of this movie, I was like, I mean, the two actors in it, that checks out.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not a massive fan of either of them, but I like both, and I'm like, this should be good. And they tried, and it was an okay movie, but that premise, that's what this is about.
Animated or live action?
Live action.
Okay.
Should have been. I was really hoping it would be great, but it wasn't.
That's cool. That's cool though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a romance movie, and it's something that isn't just the same typical thing, which can be done well, but it isn't like man meets a woman, man hurts woman or whatever, and then woman or vice versa, and it's just like there's lots of movies like that, and like romance and rom-coms that play out the exact same way. And this is ultimately just a romance movie, but it's like, it's a buoy falling in love with a satellite.
I don't know why I'm reacting this way when one of my favorite movies ever is a man falling in love with the voice of Scarlett Johansson. So
okay, so the next one is person or character who deserved a better movie. And mine harkens back to something you said earlier, and it's Popeye.
Oh, yeah.
As you said, 3 movies in 4 months.
Yeah.
And I watched one of them. I watched Popeye's Revenge.
Is that the one from the UK?
This was the first one. I don't know where it's from.
Because there's 2 from America and 1 from the UK, and I figured if I'm going to watch any of them, it's going to be the one from the UK.
It was the first one released.
Okay.
Because then I remember one other one popping up, and I was like, why is that popping up now? And then I realized, like, oh, it's a different movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this.
And then the third one came along.
Yeah, that just blew my mind. I was like, are you joking? Like, what are you doing to Popeye?
Exactly.
Listen, I'm not a massive Popeye guy. I watched some Popeye as a kid. There was an NES Popeye game I played a lot of.
I played that too.
Yeah, it came on, we had like I think it came on like the 30-in-1 cartridge or whatever.
Oh,
that we had, and I used to play Popeye quite a bit. It probably sucks, but I was a kid. I played it, there's some nostalgia for Popeye. I want Popeye to be treated right.
Yeah.
Not given 3, I assume, really bad movies. I make this point every time Popeye comes up. Because someone on the internet made it, and I thought it was great.
Okay.
And I've said this to you, say it again. There's a way to do Popeye in the horror genre that is still true to the source material and could also be pretty cool. Have him still be the good guy, not a slasher villain.
Right.
Have him fight eldritch horrors. You could still do the horror.
Yep.
He's still a good guy. He can eat his spinach. He can be in love. He can be Popeye. You can keep the general idea while also having the gory tension and etc.
Right.
of a horror movie. Would it be what I would necessarily want to do with Popeye? No. But I wouldn't resent it.
Right.
Because that's what gets me about these is why do you have to make them the bad guy? You can do Popeye in a horror way that could potentially be good providing you have the talent.
Because I am going to subvert expectations.
Yeah, just like the other 2 movies released in the same year. All these public domain characters deserve better than they're getting.
Yep.
But because Popeye is in 3 movies, I feel so bad for this fictional character. Like, if he was real, I'd hug him.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
exactly.
come here, bring your big arms over here and put them around me, Popeye.
Bring it in. I got your spinach right here. Wow.
Yeah. Like, it's...
That does, yeah.
God, I feel so bad.
That's a great choice for this, actually. I like that a lot. My selection for person or character who deserved a better movie in 2025 is Mildred Burke. So Mildred Burke was a women's professional wrestler in the 30s through the 50s, and they had a movie come out this year called Queen of the Ring. And I didn't dislike Queen of the Ring, but knowing enough about Mildred Burke's backstory, especially with her husband, and the backstory of like the way the National Wrestling Alliance kind of treated women and treated women's wrestling, and the way women's wrestling kind of had to break through in the US. My problem with this, I think, is I know a little bit too much. Because a Hollywood movie, and that's not to say I'm a genius on this topic or anything, but a Hollywood movie is going to Hollywoodize certain things.
Yeah.
And especially with the ending of this movie, it really didn't treat Mildred Burke and what she went through after the events of the end of the movie. It completely ignores and glosses over all of that, and that is a huge part of Mildred Burke's history. It also really glosses over a lot of elements of her relationship with her husband. It shows a number of them, it glosses over a lot. So I feel like there's a much better movie to be made about Mildred Burke's life, while at the same time saying, like, I enjoyed Queen of the Ring.
Right.
Not a bad movie by any means. I enjoyed it as a wrestling fan, and even as a non-wrestling fan, I would have been like the Iron Claw. I don't think you necessarily had to be a wrestling fan to enjoy the Iron Claw. Sort of the same thing with Queen of the Ring. I don't think you have to be a wrestling fan, or even a sports fan, to enjoy Queen of the Ring. But there's a better movie, maybe even a significantly better movie, to be made about the life and career of Mildred Burke. So I just felt like she kind of deserved a better movie around her for what she was for women's wrestling.
Yeah, I didn't watch it yet. I planned on, but I haven't. I don't know. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Because you're not like glowing about it, right. So I'm kind of just like. Because here's the thing with me. Mm-hmm. I got massive respect for wrestling.
Yep.
I always will, even if I don't watch it. But wrestling is one of those, like, I will just call it an art form just to keep it simple. That I am very content with only being, I suppose, knowledgeable or whatever in the era that I watched.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'm like I don't care much about what came before, and it's fine, it's cool, it's like, I'm glad, but like, mm-hmm. I'm pretty much content with just knowing a little bit from like when I started watching as a kid to now, even though I don't watch now, so I don't know much. You know, like, there's not many art forms where I'm like that, like movies I'll watch from a century ago. Music, I'm a little bit like this, where there's like, I don't listen to like a ton of stuff, but like books, I don't care, I'll go back in time, whatever. But wrestling, I don't know, I kind of just, like the 90s.
Yeah, comfortable
stuff,
sitting in that like 90s to...
Yeah, and like wrestlers that maybe have came around before the 90s, it's like, that's fine, like you know, like Ric Flair, his history is like kind of cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Bret Hart, whoever. But that's a sad pick. If you were like, this is one of the few movies so far this year where you're like, I am going to watch this. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, like I will 100% be watching it. Yeah, and again, I enjoyed it. I just kind of feel like there is a better movie to be made about Mildred Burke. Up next in our miscellaneous movie awards for 2025 is the award for the movie trope that needs to die in 2025. And my selection for movie trope that needs to die is, we're going to put this in quotes, all you need for feminism is objectively bad men getting what they deserve. Time and time again, you see movies with like one-note stock objectively bad men.
Yeah.
Who ultimately get, you know, slay girl power, get what they deserve. And people are just like, yay, feminism. And it's like, no, there's more to it than this. And this kind of hurts the overall message, I feel. And the reason that I bring this up is I bring it up because of the movie Seven Veils. And, like, I find that to be a deeply feminist movie. And you have the worst male characters in that movie. They're not objectively bad men. They are men that made terrible decisions, and they're both dead. So they can't get the comeuppance. You don't get that like the kind of cheap emotional satisfaction of she's gonna heal by them getting what they deserve, and it's like, no, they're both dead. They can't get what they deserve. Like the nuanced conversation and the complicated path to healing. And I find it just a deeply feminist movie where you don't get that simple, like, they get what they deserve and you get the happy ending and everybody's happy at the end. It's like, no. They're much more complex and difficult conversations. And I think that's good. And I think that's what we need more of. And we need less of this messaging that all you need for a feminist movie is women giving men what they deserve. And it's like, no, the conversations are much more nuanced and complicated than that. So if that trope dies, we get way closer to getting better feminist, more impactful feminist movies if you stop making easy stuff like that.
No, so that's an interesting twist on this, because I expect you to rag on the movie, but you're actually praising it for being different, which is cool. Hollywood handles men and women and their dynamic poorly.
Yeah.
I've been raging about this for years, because this is like something that I've thought a lot about, read a lot about. This is like the main interest in like psychology / social sciences that I'm into. I don't know everything by any means. There's certainly lots of people who know more than me, but I watch Hollywood movies and I'm like, you guys just you don't get it.
No.
Like, you just, so it's nice. So I'll just leave it at that, because I don't think I need to rant anymore about this stuff. But I like that movie apparently deals with it in a way that's a little smarter, because frankly, this like men are just bad and women just doing this, it's kind of crappy. Like the way people see, here I go. No, I'm gonna stop myself. I'm gonna stop myself. That was a good pick. Good job. So my pick is a lot less important. It's just when the closing shot of a movie is a person looking at the camera and smiling.
Oh, okay.
This is used so much, and now that I'm talking about it, you may notice it more. I kind of thought of this for the movie Riff Raff, which isn't a bad movie.
Okay.
But the ending involves that, and I almost never like it. Like, it can be done. Sometimes like horror movies like to do it, especially, and sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, get it. I know what they're trying to do here. It's like, oh, you think everything's safe, but then this person creepily smiles, and you know they're it can be done well. But most of the time, it kind of breaks the immersion, because like a lot of these movies don't break the fourth wall at all, but then you kind of want me to sit there and watch as this person all of a sudden decides to break the fourth wall by staring at the camera. And most of the time, like the finales could be shot better.
Right.
That you don't have to do that. And I see it all the time in movies. Even if they don't necessarily smile all the time, but it's always like, final shot is their face. Like, once in a while it's fine, but the whole point of this award is like when something becomes so much of a trope that you kind of start disliking it. Even though you acknowledge like it can still be done well on occasion. And that's what this is like for me. Like, yeah, like I say this every year. I don't think any trope needs to die, but for the sake of the award, it's like, could you chill out a little bit on it, because I see it everywhere.
You know, the movie that came to mind immediately for me when you said this was Pearl.
I don't remember the end now, but
so the end.
Was that the one where it was like the big unbroken shot?
Yes.
Oh, see,
yes.
I like that though.
And her smile is big, and she starts to cry because she's like not blinking either. Like it's So that's I know that's different than what you're.
Yeah,
but that's
I like that.
That is what it. It's like it can be used. The trope can almost be used to subvert itself in that sense. But yeah, when you're it's so funny because you and I have used this trope before. Yeah. You're not going to remember this, I don't think. But I don't know if it was at the end of The Hats.
Oh, the trailer.
Or So
when I made the trailer.
Yeah. So then when we're like, I go up the stairs for something.
Oh.
No, so this is different.
I'm thinking of something else.
So I go up the stairs for something, and the camera is on the stairs looking at you, and you look in the camera, and you literally do like the.
Oh yeah.
Because you're wearing a hat. And then as I come back down the stairs, you stop. So we've used this trope
Yeah, but
before.
that was a subversion of it too.
It was.
Don't throw us under the bus. This is our award show. Everything we do is perfect.
Hey, look, I have to be fair and balanced.
No, facts are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings. I will not let you besmirch our good. I can't even say that without laughing. Our good names.
Our good
Who
names.
says Sheila?
Hey man, we've got cachet in the industry.
So the next one is best opening scene of 2025. Mine, I'm gonna give to the actor.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna describe it a little bit, just not very well, but I'm gonna just describe it. Basically, a man and a woman go into a bedroom. It's shot in black and white. It looks like film noir. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about to get busy, but a man comes in wearing a trench coat. That's the woman's husband. And he eventually hits the other man with a chair, which I know sounds like pro wrestling, but it's not. And then the camera zooms out and makes the room feel very long.
Okay.
Then the transition from seeing the chair turn into like kind of the nurse's face in the next scene. It's really cool. And I looked at this and I was like, that's a good beginning. It's visually stunning. It's interesting. There's a mystery. Like, I love film noir. So I loved everything about this opening scene.
Nice.
I thought, man, oh man, we got a 9 out of 10. The rest of the movie was fine. But this is about the opening scene. So let's give the movie its flowers.
Yep.
I think that it's a really engaging beginning that unfortunately didn't maintain for me.
Right.
But that opening scene, some of the most visually interesting stuff of the year.
Nice.
For me, really. Like, I was like, oh man, this is really cool. So props to the actor for its opening scene.
My selection for best opening scene of 2025 so far is actually kind of one that I struggled with, and I don't think I even love the selection that I'm going to make, but this opening scene at least had the vibe to it and sort of set the tone for what was going to come in the rest of the movie. So my choice for best opening scene is Novocaine.
Okay, I gotta remember what the opening scene is. Explain it to me.
So the opening scene of Novocaine is literally, is it Jack Quinn or Jack Quaid? Quaid. So his character wakes up, Novocaine. He wakes up and you're just kind of seeing his apartment. Like, he's just making breakfast and doing whatever before he goes off to his bank job. But you're seeing a bunch of weird stuff in his apartment. There's like tennis balls on the corner of desks. And like things kind of wrapped up. And it looks like his whole apartment is like safety geared for a baby.
Yeah.
So all of this is ongoing. You're kind of like, what's kind of going on here? And in the background, the song that's playing is "Everybody Hurts."
Oh yeah. Yes, I remember that now. Yeah.
And so like, I'll probably lose monetization for that. So the whole thing is about him like kind of being in this like safety bubble, basically. Yeah. To the tune of "Everybody Hurts," and it's obviously setting the tone for, hey, you got a guy here that can't feel pain. Yeah. And it's not that it's like a particularly memorable opening scene, but the tone that it sets for the rest of the movie, and like I don't want to call it foreshadowing necessarily, but sort of. Like it's setting your premise. It's putting you kind of you're in this universe with this guy, he can't feel pain. Look at like you know that in the production of that movie, people sat down and said, okay, you have somebody that can't feel pain. What might that look like? Yeah. Like, what are the logistics? What are the actual logistics of that? And so you would have had a round table, and somebody was like, what about the corner of tables? Yeah. Or whatever. It's like, cool, excellent. You know, kind of cordon it off, because if you are running into that constantly, you're not going to know, because it doesn't hurt. You almost like backtrack to the opening scene and go, oh, that makes sense now, that makes sense, I get that. So on that level, I just kind of thought it was like, oh, this is a cool opener set to a really, really, really funny song choice and a good song choice for the concept of the movie. So I'm going to go with Novocaine.
So I have like nothing to add to that. Don't be so hard on yourself. That was a really good pick.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that was a good pick. I never thought of that. And the way you spun that, very interesting.
We move on now to the best soundtrack of 2025 so far. My selection for this, and this was another one that was like kind of number one with a bullet for me, and I don't think there was particularly a close second, is Sinners. And Sinners, you kind of split it into, well, like you do with a lot of movies, you split it into two. There's the original soundtrack and there's the original score. So the original score is done by a frequent collaborator with Coogler. Göransson, I think his name is. He's Swedish. And they've worked together on a number of Ryan Coogler's projects. But really what makes it for me is the original soundtrack. Because you've got some songs on there that are... Actually, I think most of what's in the original soundtrack has at least some integration with the cast. So like there's a couple of Haley Steinfeld songs on there, and it's a couple different genres all kind of fused with blues, because it's a very bluesy type of soundtrack, obviously for the time period that it's in. But even whether it's the soundtrack or the original score, I just think that the soundtrack to this movie plays such an integral role in how I think audiences reacted to the movie, that to me it was like the best integration of music into a movie so far this year. And I would just listen to the soundtrack in and of itself. So I'm gonna go with Sinners here. And like I say, I don't think for me there was quite a close second.
It's always good when you find a soundtrack that you actually just sit and listen to.
Yeah.
I focus more on the original soundtrack more so than like licensed songs or whatever. Mm-hmm. Mostly because like a really good soundtrack I'll sit and listen to when I write.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the instrumental stuff more. But Sinners has a good soundtrack. I mean, music is an integral part to that movie, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, that movie's like all about music.
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes sense. That's a really good pick.
And like, there's a couple of songs on there that like Jack O'Connell does all the lead vocals on.
Jack O'Connell.
And it's like,
let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Remember when I said he would be a name?
Yep, I do remember.
I'm still waiting. Like, he's been in some good stuff, and I like him in this. But I really thought he was gonna like blow up.
Yeah, me too.
So let's go into mine.
Okay.
Ash.
Ooh, okay.
Directed by the artist known as Flying Lotus, who's a musician, so it makes sense that he would soundtrack his own movie.
Totally.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm familiar with Flying Lotus. I've heard the name. He does like abrasive, like hammering, tense, like soundscapes very well. It's kind of like a horror, going on. But then like he'll sprinkle in, like there's literally a track called Safe Room that's like a little more... Like, some of the slower stuff is still a little menacing, and Safe Room, I suppose, sort of is, but Safe Room is cool because it's called Safe Room, and it really reminded me a lot of, like, a Resident Evil Safe Room.
Oh,
like, all this crap is going on, and you get to this one room.
Right.
And that music plays, and you're like, ah.
It's just kind of this quiet, melodic...
Yeah.
Like...
And it's like, the song called Safe Room is a lot like a video game Safe Room, which I'm assuming is probably intentional.
I'm assuming that's probably by design,
Which is cool.
Yeah.
This was actually a hard pick for me this year. There was actually a few different choices. I just want to throw a one specifically because I do think that the music is probably the star in this movie. Mm-hmm. But there's another movie where that's also arguably the case. Baby Invasion.
You know what? I was literally thinking Baby Invasion would have been a dark horse for this.
It is. Yeah. It was in there because that whole movie's like a music video.
Yeah, it's all
for like
a fucking ambiance
soundtrack, right?
Absolutely.
And so that is, but it's not necessarily the star of that movie in a way because there's a lot else going on, which we'll probably talk about. But I decided I wanted to go with Ash. For this one because I was really impressed and it is a soundtrack. I actually like it more than the Baby Invasion soundtrack, but not necessarily that it's better. I just kind of like it more. But I do listen to Ash when I write sometimes. It's a good mood piece for that. So yeah, the soundtrack for Ash by Flying Lotus. That's my pick.
Very cool.
Okay, so moving on to the aha moment. I'm going a little off the rails with this one, okay? Because normally it's kind of like a plot twist or whatever. Mine is finding a new enemy. So we've ranted a lot about the crappy public domain horror movies and whatnot. I found the real enemy. And it was a big aha moment for me. It's ITN Studios.
Okay.
Okay, because, like, Reese Frank Waterfield is a goober, right?
Yeah.
But he's just a pawn.
Right.
All right? He's just a puppet. So the people, like... this studio releases a lot of these movies, like The Blood and Honeys, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Piglet, Bambi. These are all this year movies. Some of them haven't been released yet. These guys produce a lot of these movies that we hate so bad. So, I mean, I guess, like, you may never have heard of most of these, but they're in, like, an evil dark cloud, this studio, just hanging over movies. And so I guess it's really all I have. Like, it's not an aha moment like, oh, there's plot twist, but it was an aha moment like I got to the bottom of it.
Now we know who we go after.
Like, don't get me wrong. We'll still crap on the crappy directors and whatever individually.
Absolutely.
And long after it's fashionable to do so, we will be like the Canadians in World War I, raiding trenches even as it goes out of style.
Right.
Because that's what we do.
The Geneva Code exists for a reason, and a lot of it is us.
So I know, this probably isn't an amazing thing, but it was good for me.
ITN Studios, eh?
Yep.
So, if, say, their building would happen to burn down. So, my selection for the aha moment, I did stick to what I thought was the best plot twist in a movie so far this year. And that, for me, is the identity of the presence in the movie Presence. I don't know whether you've seen this movie yet or not, but it's a family of four that move into a new house. And it's shot and, like, what eventually you find out is first person, but it almost looks like it could be mistaken for found footage if you weren't kind of like, if you didn't sort of know what was going on in the movie. But like the whole movie is filmed from the perspective of a presence that exists in this new house that this family moves into. The wife is played famously by Lucy Liu. And eventually, as it gets to the end of the movie, it reveals the identity of the presence. And it's the most emotionally visceral moment of the whole movie. And I don't feel like it gives it up too early. Just enough time to kind of marinate on it, and then they reveal it. I feel like it was done exceptionally well, and that was the best plot twist of the year so far. And there's narrative reason for it too. They talk about, like, you know, how some spirits who are in some places are reliving, like, time doesn't work the same way, so they're just reliving the same events over and over again until something happens that then they can be freed, and so it ties into all that with the rest of the narrative of the movie. And I thought that was the best plot twist of the year, once they revealed the actual identity of the presence in the movie Presence.
I think that's a great pick, and you nailed it. Don't want to talk about it anymore because it gives away too much. So, good pick.
We move on now to the thing in film in 2025 that made you happy, or makes you happy. And what I'm going to select for this year, it kind of tails back into some previous years. It's kind of been something that's been kind of bubbling and building a little bit, and I think has finally, over the last couple of years, kind of come to the forefront. The thing in film that makes me happy, and we saw it in 2025 with a movie we talked about a little bit earlier, Queen of the Ring. The thing that makes me happy is that pro wrestling itself, rather than just pro wrestlers, is now seen as viable, like, material for film. Because, like, for a long time you would have, like, little bit here, like, you had the WCW fueled comedy movie Ready to Rumble, which was fun. Like, that movie's fun, and, like, cameos from WCW wrestlers and whatever. Like, the movie's just fun. Of course, it did also lead to David Arquette winning the world title, but that's something we talk about entirely separately, because WCW was just weird in some cases. But, like, so you had that. Then you had almost nothing until, like, The Wrestler.
Yeah.
You had wrestlers who became big movie stars. Dwayne Johnson, obviously, is the most prominent one. You had Hulk Hogan before that doing, you know, Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny and stuff like that. But then you had, like, you know, Dwayne Johnson becomes, you know, a credible Hollywood, like, somebody that you can cast in a movie And for a while, anyway, people were like, cool, I'm going to go see that. The Rock's in it. You have John Cena, who's kind of becoming that. You have Dave Bautista, who now I think has the most credible resume of former professional wrestlers in actual acting roles.
Yeah, because John Cena's really entertaining, mostly in comedies.
Yeah,
like, he's really good at it, though.
He is. He's very good. So like and it's cool. It's cool to see wrestlers kind of make it in Hollywood with the Iron Claw, and then with Queen of the Ring. You got two fairly prominent dramas based on the industry of pro wrestling. So the people, yes, but the industry of pro wrestling, you get two pretty prominent ones in 2.5 years or whatever. So seeing the industry of professional wrestling become something that is looked at and be like, yo, we can make movies about that.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna go with that. So it's kind of inspired by Queen of the Ring, but just as more of like an overarching, still developing trend in Hollywood that pro wrestling. And I think like Dark Side of the Ring probably has a lot to do with that, because you have like a pretty well polished and well made, multi-year running documentary series about pro wrestling, and I think that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes to like, oh, like there's like viable material in here that you can make movies about. So that just makes me happy.
And Glow was a good show too. At least the first season. I don't think I stuck with it because I'm stupid. But
they made there's another wrestling based drama I think called Heels.
Oh, I haven't heard of this one.
I think Stephen Amell was in it.
Oh yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
because he's a legit wrestling fan.
Yeah.
I like wrestling. I like this too. I like wrestling content more when it's like, obviously about wrestling, but it's like fictional characters. Mm-hmm. Like I want to see like made up stories more than I want to see like movies about a specific wrestler.
Right.
Because if I wanted to see that, I'd really just watch a documentary.
Right.
But
then
I'm happy.
That like Young Rock TV series too that I don't think exists anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just like The Rock being like, "Here's what my family did," and everybody's like, "That's not what happened."
All right, so the thing in film that made me happy is that Marvel announced a Punisher special presentation, which we're going to count as a movie.
Okay.
We counted the other ones as movies. So basically, what we got here, now this will be tough, because it'll probably come out next year, which means it's going to compete with, like, Avengers Doomsday. Which, like, I'm going to probably have a problem, because I'm going to be, like, my bias towards the Punisher, or a movie that will probably be legitimately better, a potential movie of the year for me next year or whenever year it comes out, because I adore the Punisher. I'm not wearing my Punisher hat. I guess I should have. But I have a bunch of Punisher merchandise. I named my bunny after the Punisher, for those who don't know. Like, I loved seeing the Punisher come back in Daredevil, even though he wasn't in it much, which was kind of disappointing, but I still love seeing Bernthal as the Punisher. I'm always going to love seeing Bernthal as the Punisher, because he's perfect.
Yes.
And I really just hope the special presentation is gritty and just really well done. I don't think Bernthal would sign on if it wasn't.
Right.
Respectful towards the character, because that's kind of why he wasn't going to be in Daredevil originally, and kind of they reshot and like reworked it, because he was like, nah, this ain't working for me.
Wow.
And he's not a big prominent role in it, so he wasn't the only thing, but he's like, I'm not coming back as a Punisher with this.
Right.
I'm always excited to see the Punisher. And yeah, that's the thing in movies that made me happiest this year, because as soon as I heard that, I'm like, yes!
Yeah, we're in.
Let's go! So moving on to the next one, it is back on the board in 2025, and I don't feel super passionate about this, but it's still pretty decent. The Accountant?
Yeah.
That movie came out like 9 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't good, really. Like, it was okay, I suppose. I actually don't even know if I gave it like a passing grade, because I remember being like, it's whatever. But this one was pretty good. It got really good audience reception, at least on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. Like when I checked, like it was like really, really high.
It seems solid.
I don't know if it's maintained that. Yeah, it's not a property I have a lot of passion towards or anything, but it was still kind of nice to see. almost a decade later, this franchise, I guess, come back on the board and it'd actually be a pretty good movie. Like, I like this one more. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is kind of nice to see, especially when the first movie was kind of like, hey, there's some stuff here, but it might be kind of a little milk toasty. To be able to have them kind of go around and have a second kick at the can at it and have it actually turn out better than the original. Yeah. Like, imagine if they had done that with, like, a movie that was really great, like Sicario. Like, if the second Sicario was better than the first one, then...
God damn it. What, so, like, the best movie of all time?
Exactly.
Because there's not really... You can't really go much higher than the first Sicario.
That's the reason that I used that as the example.
Like, it's not amongst, like... I didn't rate it a 10 out of 10, but, I mean, I think I rated it 9.5, so you pretty much gotta become a 10 at that point.
And my selection for Back on the Board, which I think the original genesis of this award was Back on the Map, but we're calling it Back on the Board.
Really?
I think so.
Oh yeah, you're right. We did.
It's back on the board now. Back on the board in 2025. I'm going to give this to Adam McGoyan for Seven Veils. And now, technically, this is a cheater. This movie was made in 2023, but it didn't release until this year. So I haven't seen an Adam McGoyan movie since Chloe. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't see, like, The Captive that he did with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I saw The Captive.
I didn't see Remember. I think he's done, like, 3 or 4. So he's always kind of been there, but they've been small projects that really haven't, and not like this is a huge project, but the fact that he, like, you know, reteams with Amanda Seyfried, like, it's to me, it was noteworthy on that level. So again, I haven't seen anything Adam McGoyan's done since Chloe, so that was 2009. So I mean, we're talking about it's been 15, 16 years.
The first ever movie awards you talked about.
Yeah, Chloe. Exactly. So for me, it's Adam, and like I liked Chloe so much that I'm kind of surprised. And I mean, you know, Adam McGoyan's also like Armenian Canadian, so I'm kind of surprised that I didn't follow his career a little more than I have. But anyway, he made Seven Veils. He's back on the map for me in 2025. Even though, like, you know, Seven Veils, I think. Well, we'll talk about it, but yeah, he's back on the map, and he's back in the public consciousness, and he's as horny as ever.
At the retrospective, you actually were like, well, maybe I wouldn't have put him up as high on something you would change, but you were like such a big fan, and yet to hear you haven't paid attention to him in like 15 years. Is insane. Like, he's always been more your guy than mine. Like, I don't mind his movies that I've seen, because I think we might have seen one of his older movies together. I think when we used to rent movies a lot, I'm pretty sure we saw something of his.
Could that have been Felicia's Journey?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, we saw that. We watched that together.
Yeah.
I don't think I really liked it that much, if I'm remembering correctly. So he's not my guy, but I'm happy for you.
We now move on to the movie in 2025 so far that is the most insistent upon itself. And I'm so glad that I got to end the last one and begin this one, because my choice for this is Seven Veils. So, this movie is so, like, my pain and my suffering and my art. Like, this movie is so, it borders on pretentious real hard. Like, if pretentious is the neutral zone in Star Trek, they're violating the neutral zone all over the place. This movie is very, and Adam McGoyan has been this, like, I mean, he's this way in Chloe too. And I get the sense from looking at some of his other pictures that probably has not changed throughout his whole career. Exceptionally insistent on the emotional relevance and gravitas and importance of what is being displayed here. In Seven Veils, it's nuclear. Yeah. Because it's like the stage before, which is an actual performance that he staged at the Toronto Opera, maybe. So, like, spliced in with this movie are, like, clips that literally Amanda Seyfried is recording on her phone from the audience of the actual stage performance that Adam McGowan put on of this play, or of this musical, which is such a cool concept. But even in that, it's like, no, Amanda, you must sit in the crowd, and you must record, and you must convey the pain and the emotion. And it's like, I'm sorry, Adam McGowan, for giving you this voice. But it's kind of close to my Tim Burton, I'm a goofy artist voice, but it's pretty close. But Seven Veils insists on itself very heavily from like the first frames of the movie. So that's my selection in 2025 so far.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's part of the reason why I stopped watching it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was, kind of like I started and I was like, man, I don't think I'm into the subject matter and whatnot enough to put up with the self-insistence.
Right.
So I stopped. Like, I like Amanda Seyfried. I'm not like as into her as you are, but I like seeing her.
Yep.
I just kind of really the only reason I was like, I want to see her, but I couldn't. I just didn't. That's good. That's a good pick. Funny coming after the hey, you're back on the board, but also like screw you.
You're back on the map, and you're very insistent on that fact.
All right, so for my pick, I'm gonna go with someone who wasn't really working a lot. But now he's worked quite a bit the last couple of years, and my movie, though, is going to be Baby Invasion.
Okay.
My boy, Harmony Korine, some would argue, the haters, but by the way, with that every movie he does is insistent upon itself. Baby Invasion is very insistent upon itself, though not in the way that people watching this might expect. Like, is the movie self-indulgent? Yeah, sure. But that's Harmony Korine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's very militant about his stuff. That's what I like about him. But he doesn't ever get too involved in like preachiness, right? So it's like I'm always kind of just like, yeah, he's just got his style. He does it. Where I find this movie really insistent upon itself is in the fact that there's two versions, right?
Yes.
Well, actually, there's many because this whole thing was like, oh, there's going to be different ways to whatever. It's like, okay, fine. But your two versions that you release, I haven't checked since, because I don't want to, because I'll probably buy a third version if there is one. There's like a fairly important difference between the two, but also this difference, instead of making you buy the movie a second time, could have just been an audio track in the digital file. You could have been like, because there's a pure and impure versions, right? I think pure doesn't have the bunny narration. I'm pretty sure it's impure. I can't remember which one. Doesn't matter. Okay. Right? Let's just say pure doesn't have it. And you could have just been like, okay, you bought the pure version, so now while you're streaming it on my website, you can choose the audio track for the impure version, and then you can hear the narration. But instead, he's like, nah, you want to hear it? Buy it again. And I did. That same weekend, right. As a matter of fact. I watched that movie twice in a weekend because I was like, well, now I gotta hear it. I'm like, oh, cool. There's like a story about a bunny going on, because I was always kind of wondering what was going on with this bunny in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bunnies? So I'm like, all right. So I watched it, and that's really why it's so insistent. It's like, just make it an audio track.
Right.
You're greedy, bud.
Even if you wanted to microtransaction it and just be like, here's the audio track. It's an extra $2.49 in US or whatever. Cool.
I would have taken that like. He was like l'enfant terrible, of cinema, right? That's what they called him, right? And now he's like kind of just greedy. Like, even if you look on like his like Edgelord website, some of the stuff is so expensive, and I'm like, Korine, my guy. But we got to stop going down this path of like, I'm gonna charge you multiple times for a movie that's like, there's like a significant difference in a way,
right?
But not significant enough to pay another $25 or whatever it was.
Yikes!
Yet I did it, but still. Anyway, that's my pick.
I did it, but I'm not happy.
I wasn't happy about it at all.
No, I don't imagine.
But I did it because I wanted to see. I try to buy Korine stuff when I can, because I haven't been able to support him directly with a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen Spring Breakers in theater. I saw The Beach Bum in theater. I did buy Aggro Drift, I bought Baby Invasion, but like Gummo I got on eBay, so we didn't see any money from that. And Mr. Lonely I bought from Blockbuster used.
you're just asking a lot.
For a guy who is like I'm using AI and technology and all this stuff for movies. It's like you can't figure out different audio tracks in a digital file.
Right?
Like, come on. Anyway, I hate that. So the final award for this video is one thing that would improve a movie.
Yep.
We kind of stretch it a little bit because maybe it's not just one specific little plot point or whatever. Maybe it's like something bigger or whatever, you know, it could be whatever. But I picked The Gorge. I don't know if you saw this.
Okay.
It didn't come out to much fanfare, but I actually really liked it. Now, basically what it is like Miles Teller's character gets put in like the gorge and has to like a big tower, and you have to like watch over below here because there's something that you don't really know going on over there. But right across where he can't get to, theoretically, of course it's a movie, so he does. On the other side is Anya Taylor-Joy.
Right.
From, you know, different place, and they can kind of like see each other a little bit, and they become kind of like friendly from a distance while also like watching some monster shit going on behind them. And I actually thought the movie was really tense and mysterious when they were kind of just getting to know each other, and you didn't know the exact mystery of what was going on. And I actually, it's probably not very popular because, you know, but I actually would have liked more of that. And it was a decent portion of the movie, but I was really into it. Like it was tense.
Yeah.
And I was invested. And then, like, you know, we got to get to the action bits, right? So they do their thing, and then you figure out everything. And I'm like, it's still good, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, sometimes, like, a really slow burn doesn't work. And
Right.
I don't know how to, like, quantify it so much. Because it's like, it just does or it doesn't. Because we often say that. I was like, well, it's a slow burn. The pacing was off. But it's like, but dude, it's just kind of something you feel, but can't necessarily explain. But I think a even slower burn would have been really nice here, as much as I like the movie. So, like, I'm not even taking a bad movie to try to improve it. I'm just taking a movie I actually really liked and been like, yeah, but, like, this could have been awesome. Like, really awesome had it just leaned a little bit more into them kind of getting to know each other and dealing with the stuff and whatever for a while before it got to the action bit. I would have even taken a little bit of a longer movie for that, or just cut the action bit back a little bit.
Right.
So, not a pick I don't think that anybody would choose, but I'm going with The Gorge. Just make the beginning mystery longer, basically.
Fair enough. All right, so here's how I'm going to give this award to Seven Veils as well. And my selection for one thing that could have improved a movie in 2025, I'm going to give this to Companion. So I feel like I enjoyed Companion, and B, I actually kind of feel like the movie is becoming better retroactively. Like, I feel like it hasn't been a super long time since I've seen it. I feel like it's aging well. But the one thing that I think could have improved it for me, I'm still looking for that, like, I'm still looking for the film equivalent of the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Measure of a Man. I'm still looking for that, like, nuanced, multi-layered conversation about AI/artificial humans and our relationship to them.
Yeah.
You can even do that in a horror context. And I think maybe even it could be done in a horror context super interestingly. What I feel like is that we sacrifice, as if I'm part of the movies, but like, I think they sacrifice that nuanced conversation for action beats and trailer moments and things like that. Like, I always have like Mithrigan in my head where it's like, I feel like there's room here to have a much more nuanced conversation, and instead you're sacrificing that for like the trailer dance moments. Companion is not on that level, and you get more.
Yeah.
But the problem with that, the fact that you get more, is like, no, guys, go further. Like, there's a lot more conversation, a lot more nuanced conversation about our relationship to potential artificial life that we might see in the future. And I'm still just like begging for that equivalent of that episode. I'm not going to expect you to know this off the top of your head, but that TNG episode, Measure of a Man, is the one where they legally define whether Lieutenant Commander Data is a living being, or if he's basically like the property of Starfleet.
Yeah.
Because there's one officer that basically wants to strip him down to his bolts to figure out how he was created in the first place. But they're like, but if he can satisfy basically the criteria for life as we define it, then you can't do that because he's a living being. And so it's like that level of kind of nuanced conversation, I'm still kind of waiting for it across multiple different types of media. I feel like you've had opportunities in video games to do stuff like that, and instead you get Detroit Become Human.
You always hate on this. Everyone loves that, but you.
It's not about racism, though. It was giving me like little like no, like some tidbits, and I'm like, okay, cool. Give me more, though. And it wasn't. If it would have given me even like 10% more, I might have been like, wow, I think this is like a fantastic, incredible movie. If you had just given me more of that. So that's the one thing that I would have changed about that movie. I would have had more of that. And again, you got bits of it. You started seeing more. So maybe we're heading in the right direction with that. And maybe sometime before I die, I'll get the movie that I'm looking for about AI and artificial life.
You've been beating this drum pretty hard the last few years, like criticizing multiple sci-fi movies. I maintain that, like, I would like to see that too. I think I'm just a little more pragmatic, I suppose, in that, like, I don't know that a fiction movie is the place for it, but then you say that, like, Star Trek did it, so it's possible. Make, like, a chamber piece, or a mostly chamber piece thing of a couple people talking about, like, a robot and stuff, and just have them go deep into it.
Yeah. Like, you kind of got it with, like, Ex Machina.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
So like more in that direction, less in the direction of, like, say, Mithrigan. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our massive miscellaneous awards for the 2025 Justin and Tyler Mid-Year Movie Awards. And when we come back on the next video will be part 2, where we give out basically our People Awards, the worst movie of the year so far, the best movies of the year so far, the People's Choice, and we got a little treat for you at the end as well. So come back to part 2 to get all that fun stuff.
You took my wave, bitch.
I joined your...
Why? No, you took it.
I joined.